Street dudes is finding creative ways to tell nowadays. They telling through their lawyers, right? They won't get their blood.
Oh yeah, they not about to get up there and say it. They'll tell their lawyers so their lawyers can get up there and say it. Do your homework on new snitches.
Up on that particular stand and point that hand and tell it all, but they gonna tell through their lawyers.
The defense's most explosive claim was that Tee Grizzley ordered the hit because J.B. Brown was allegedly pregnant with his seed. This allegation, if it was facts, would provide a solid motive for murder homie trying to cover up what would have been a scandalous relationship between Tee Grizzley and his uncle's wife. The streets...
Like, look at him. Like, you got your uncle's wife pregnant, bro? That's kind of spooky, bro. I ain't gonna bad to you, bro. That's wild, bro. Your uncle's wife, bro. But killing her because of that is crazy. Getting her killed because of that is, like, so wild, bro.
It went crazy when...
I'm trying to find my way, shit drive me crazy.
What took you so long?
I won't fucking don't wanna love, she talking about babies. I've been hurting, I'm deep in this shit, nobody has saved me. Every day I get up and rush, ain't never been lazy.
Tee Grizzley is sentenced to life in prison and says goodbye forever, shorty. Tap in.
Tee Grizzley is headed to prison, and this time he's not coming back anytime soon. A few years ago, his aunt was shot and killed, and Grizzley claimed it was a hit meant for him that went wrong.
Basically what happened, they walked up to my door and opened my door. You know what I'm saying? So opened my door, trying to get at me. He ended up hitting her up.
But now, explosive new evidence says otherwise. Authorities claim he orchestrated the hit himself. Here's how it all unfolded. When the streets come knocking, the trial that's about to finish everything. It's looking real bad for Tee Grizzley. For years, he convinced the world that his aunt, Jobina Brown, was killed in a botched hit meant for him. A suspect was even caught and brought to trial. On July 15, 2025, jury selection began for the murder trial of Jermaine Weeder, aka Wu-Tang or Wu-Thang, in Detroit's Wayne County Circuit Court. What should have been a straightforward prosecution of some Chicago drill for murder quickly turned into something way more complex and damaging for Tee Grizzley than anyone could have seen coming. The prosecution rolled up with what they thought was an airtight case against Wheaton. They had the murder weapon, that .40 caliber Glock 23 found on Wheaton in Chicago months after the shooting, confirmed by ballistics testing through Niven. They had the getaway weapon that stole...
Then this nigga got caught with the same gun that he used in the hit months later. Then got caught with the same car he used in the hit months later. Like, niggas niggas just a goofball, nigga. You deserve to go to jail, nigga. You so stupid doing that hit, bro. You just dumb.
Stolen blue Nissan Versa that Wheaton was sitting in when 12 grabbed him up. They had cell phone records placing this fool in the D at the exact time when the shooting went down. Instead of just arguing their client's innocence or trying to poke holes in the physical evidence, Wheaton's defense attorneys went nuclear and claimed straight up in court that Tee Grizzley had paid for the hit on J.B. Brown. This wasn't no desperate Hail Mary from some public defender with no other plays. According to legal experts, defense lawyers can only make specific claims like this if they got a basis for it, usually information coming straight from their client's mouth. The implications of this move was crazy and was about to shake the whole culture to its core.
Street dudes is finding creative ways to tell nowadays. They telling through their lawyers, right? They won't get their blood.
Oh yeah, they not about to get up there and say it. They'll tell their lawyers so their lawyers can get up there and say it. Do your homework on new snitches.
Up on that particular stand and point that hand and tell it all, but they gonna tell through their lawyers.
The defense's most explosive claim was that Tee Grizzley ordered the hit because J.B. Brown was allegedly pregnant with his seed. This allegation, if it was facts, would provide a solid motive for murder homie trying to cover up what would have been a scandalous relationship between Tee Grizzley and his uncle's wife. The streets...
Like, look at him. Like, you got your uncle's wife pregnant, bro? That's kind of spooky, bro. I ain't gonna bad to you, bro. That's wild, bro. Your uncle's wife, bro. But killing her because of that is crazy. Getting her killed because of that is, like, so wild, bro.
It went crazy when this dropped, with fans struggling to reconcile this image with the redemption story they'd been riding with. However, the prosecution quickly shut that down by presenting autopsy evidence that definitively proved J.B. Brown wasn't pregnant when she got killed. While this destroyed one of the defense's main arguments, it raised an even more troubling question. If Wheaton and his lawyers believed J.B. Brown was carrying, where the hell did that information come from?
Yeah, where the hell did that information... See, now it's getting real spooky. She not even pregnant? So, nigga, you lost that case right there. You try to get this nigga in jail. Ain't no way Tee Grizzley's getting locked up for this. Nigga, you said that she was pregnant, and for her, the autopsy to come out and she was never pregnant? Yeah, nigga, you lost this, John. You can't snitch on nobody, nigga. It's over for you.
Logical explanation was that whoever allegedly hired Whedon had told him she was pregnant as the reason for the killing, even though this turned out to be straight cap. This suggested not just a murder for hire plot, but one based on potentially fake information about the victim, a level of deception and manipulation that painted an even darker picture of this alleged conspiracy. As the trial kept going, more disturbing details emerged that seemed to support what the defense was claiming. Testimony revealed that the relationship between Tee Grizzley and J.B. Brown had allegedly become intimate after his uncle got locked up. Police investigators had discovered this relationship early in their investigation, with the police chief reportedly telling both Tee Grizzley and J.B. Brown's family members that he believed Tee was somehow involved in her death. The prosecution found themselves in a messed up position. While they was trying to convict Whedon for murder, the defense's strategy was systematically throwing Tee Grizzley under the bus. The driver who was present during the shooting testified that the attack occurred exactly 45 seconds after Tee Grizzley stepped out the whip, a level of precision that suggested either some incredible coincidence or careful planning and coordination. Maybe the most damaging to Tee Grizzley's reputation was testimony that contradicted his own version of what went down that night. Tee Grizzley had claimed in interviews that when he heard the shots, he ran to a window to see what was happening, but his aunt, the homeowner, testified that she never saw him do this. While this might seem like some minor detail to people on the outside, in a case built on credibility and keeping it 100, every inconsistency mattered and could potentially unravel the whole narrative. The trial also exposed just how deep...
Oh yeah, facts, bro. If you keep telling one side of the story and then people that was around got something different, boy, it could go bad for you. I ain't even go bad to you, bro. It could get real bad for you.
The connections ran between Tee Grizzley and the Chicago drill scene that produced the alleged shooting. Whedon was tight with Booker 600, who had not only done music with Tee Grizzley, but had served as a groomsman in his wedding. The timing of this wedding, after J.B. Brown's murder and after Whedon got arrested, was seen by prosecutors and conspiracy theorists alike as evidence of either complete innocence or incredible coldness. The internet went absolutely insane with the reaction to the trial development.
Now, before I told y'all that Tee Grizzley was pretty much like, people were speculating if he had something to do with the unaliving of his alleged auntie, Pure.
I ain't gonna bad to you. If y'all gonna do things like this, y'all might as well go put a badge on and then go fight crime. Ain't this the same thing? Niggas is fighting crime online instead of go. Nigga, you better off going to get a badge and go fight some crime. Nigga, y'all niggas, bro. They be trying to get down to every detail. Nitty gritty ass niggas, bro. Look at it.
Bible, and he was supposed to allegedly got this woman pregnant. Now, we found out that she was never pregnant during survival.
Even more troubling for Tee Grizzley was that some of the most damaging allegations were coming from sources with apparent inside knowledge of the case. Hip-hop media personality Wack 100 claimed to have spoken directly with J.B. Brown's son, who allegedly confirmed knowledge of an inappropriate relationship between Tee Grizzley and his mother.
He got on the phone with me and Flacco and said, "Yo, Wack, I'm a big boy. I know what time it is. I know what was going on." I said, you know what was going on? He said, "Yeah, I know what was going on."
And you took that to mean that they were sleeping together?
Well, you know me. I said, "Well, since you know what was going on, did you know this?" He said, "I absolutely knew that."
About them sleeping together.
That's a fact.
The most comprehensive and damaging allegations came from content creators who laid out detailed theories about Tee Grizzley's alleged motive. According to these theories, when Tee Grizzley first got out the pen, he had placed his assets and contracts in J.B. Brown's name to avoid government seizure due to his debts. Once he got successful and paid off his obligations, he allegedly wanted to transfer everything back to his name, but J.B. Brown refused to sign the necessary paperwork. However, this theory had major flaws that undermined its credibility. As industry insiders pointed out,
I ain't gonna lie, now that makes sense, bro. That makes sense right there. Okay, you go to prison, you in debt, you getting out, you pay all your debt back, you want all your royalties back, you want everything back in your name, and she don't want to sign the papers? Shit, I'd have killed you too. I ain't gonna bap.
Record labels like 300 Entertainment and Atlantic Records, which had signed Tee Grizzley, would have demanded control of his masters and publishing as part of any deal. The idea that some individual manager would have retained that kind of control over a major label artist's catalog was unrealistic and showed a fundamental misunderstanding of how the music business operates. More importantly, Tee Grizzley had never publicly complained about his management arrangement with J.B. Brown, which would have been typical if there had been serious financial disputes. Most artists who feel exploited by their management are quick to air their grievances publicly, but T had only ever spoken positively about JB's role in his career and her impact on his success. As the trial continued, Tee Grizzley himself became a figure of increasing legal jeopardy. When called to testify, he took the fifth, a decision that, while legally sound and constitutionally protected, was interpreted by many as evidence of guilt. In the court of public opinion, innocent people were expected to testify freely and defend themselves aggressively. The prosecution's case against Whedon remained strong from an evidence standpoint, but the defense's strategy of implicating Tee Grizzley was creating reasonable doubt about their client's role as the sole perpetrator. If the jury believed that Whedon was just following orders, they might be less likely to convict him of first-degree murder, potentially reducing the charges to something less severe. Meanwhile, federal investigators were reportedly taking notice of the allegations emerging from the trial proceedings. Multiple sources suggested that if Whedon got convicted and decided to cooperate with authorities, federal charges against Tee Grizzley for murder-for-hire conspiracy could follow. Federal murder-for-hire charges carry the possibility of life imprisonment, making the...
Yeah, murder for hire is crazy, and this happened about 6 years ago, and it's 2025. That's spooky, shorty. For people to say that you got something to do with it now in 2025 is crazy. I would have been blown, bro. He probably forgot. Nah, he ain't forget about it, but like, damn, y'all come back now. Ooh, shit, my bad.
This a potential death sentence for Tee Grizzley's freedom and future. Social media reaction to the trial developments was split down the middle, with some fans maintaining their belief in Tee Grizzley's innocence, while others felt betrayed by what they saw as evidence of his guilt. Some defenders pointed out the lack of direct evidence against Tee Grizzley, noting that all the allegations were coming from the defense team of an accused murderer who had every incentive to shift blame away from their client. They argued that the physical evidence clearly pointed to Whedon as the shooter, and that everything else was speculation, misdirection, and desperate legal maneuvering. Others found the circumstantial evidence compelling and difficult to dismiss, particularly the precise timing of the attack, Whedon's advanced positioning at the scene, and Tee Grizzley's continued association with people connected to the alleged shooter. They argued that too many suspicious circumstances couldn't be explained by coincidence alone and suggested a level of coordination that implied guilt. As the trial moved into its second week, the pressure on all parties intensified dramatically. Court observers noted that the prosecution seemed increasingly frustrated with the defense's strategy of implicating Tee Grizzley, as it was distracting from their case against Whedon. However, they were limited in their ability to push back without appearing to defend someone who wasn't even their client and wasn't officially part of the proceedings. For Whedon's defense team, the strategy represented a high-risk, high-reward gambit. If they could convince the jury that their client was just a hired gun following orders, they might secure an acquittal or at least a reduction in charges. But if
Yeah, they be trying to find anything to reduce them charges, bro. So if this nigga lying on Tee Grizzley to get out of jail, that would be wild. That would be wild. Because, nigga, you're not getting out of jail. You'll just get your time reduced so you ain't got to stay in there all your life. You at least get to get some out.
If the strategy backfired, it could result in even harsher punishment for what would appear to be a calculated and premeditated murder carried out for money. Family members who had initially rocked with Tee Grizzley were reportedly beginning to have doubts, particularly given his continued association with people connected to the Chicago drill scene. The emotional toll on everyone involved was evident and heartbreaking, but the legal process continued grinding forward with mechanical precision. But to understand how we reached this devastating moment, we must journey back to the night that changed everything, the evening of August 20th, 2019, when gunshots rang out on Detroit's east side and multiple lives were altered forever. Blood, betrayal, and bullets, the night that changed everything. To understand the magnitude of what went down that night, we need to first appreciate where Tee Grizzley was at in 2019. By this time, he had dropped multiple successful projects, including his debut album, Activated, which reached number 10 on the Billboard 200. He wasn't that desperate young who had been hitting dormitories at Michigan State or trying to smash jewelry cases with sledgehammers in Kentucky no more. He was getting paper, had the culture's respect, and most importantly, was a man who seemed to have successfully flipped his pain into purpose and his struggle into success. Jobina J. J.B. Brown remained his manager and one of his closest confidants, continuing to guide his career with the same dedication she had shown when she first believed in his potential. Their relationship had evolved beyond the typical artist-manager dynamic. She was family, trusted advisor, and according to T, the person who had made his success possible. She was more than just a business partner. She was the foundation his entire career was built on. But on that August...
Oh, that's hard though, but damn. Let me know what y'all feel about this. Y'all think Tee Grizzley got anything to do with this? Me personally, shit, I would have killed their ass too, but I don't really know what to say. He beat it. I mean, the case is dismissed, I guess. It's just spooky all around, shorty. I don't know what to say.
Evening, as they rode through the familiar streets of Detroit in a black Chrysler 300 with a driver, the specter of street violence, the very element that had given Tee Grizzley his authentic voice and credible narrative, would come calling in the most devastating way possible, shattering the peace they had worked so hard to build. The official account of what happened that night comes from multiple sources, including police reports, witness testimony, and Tee Grizzley's own detailed recounting in various interviews. The three occupants of the vehicle, Tee Grizzley, J.B. Brown, and their driver, had made a stop on Detroit's east side, specifically in the area of 3 Mile Drive and Mack Avenue. The purpose of the stop was deeply personal. T wanted to visit his cousin's crib, someone he described as being close to his late father and representing an important link to his family's past. What happened next has been recounted by Tee Grizzley in multiple interviews, and the consistency of his account has been both a source of credibility for his supporters and for his critics, a source of suspicion.
I was telling her, like, come in the house. And she's like, no, I don't want to go in. I'm begging her to come in the house.
The detail about J.B. Brown's...
Didn't he say, like, they was her people's too, like, her cousins and shit? But it just don't make sense all in one, shorty. It don't make sense, bro. But we gonna see what happens, shorty. I ain't go back to. We gonna see what happens. Do I feel like he got part of this? I don't know. What, I would have killed the rest if I couldn't get my royalties to sign that deal? Yup.
Reluctance to enter the house has become one of the most scrutinized and debated aspects of the entire situation.
Because JB was kind of like funny acting about dirty houses and stuff like that. The house wasn't even dirty, but to her, she just a clean, real clean person.
As Tee Grizzley approached the door and waited for his cousin to answer, the attack began with swift and calculated precision. The timing, as described by multiple witnesses, including the driver, was precise and devastating in its execution.
As soon as I see my auntie, she about to open the door, I hear a whole bunch of shots going off.
The mechanics of the shooting, as later reconstructed by investigators and described by Tee Grizzley, paint a picture of calculated violence with surgical precision.
Basically what happened, they walked up to my door and opened my door. You know what I'm saying? So opened my door, trying to get at me. Ended up hitting her up.
The shooters opened the vehicle.
I see why they said that, because that's crazy. But why would they open your door to look for you and hit her up? You know, that kind of don't make no sense, bro. He should have stayed quiet on them interviews when they asked them questions. They shouldn't have said nothing, for real. I don't like talking about that. It make me feel some type of way. You know, something like that, bro. But for you to say they opened the door looking for you is crazy.
Vehicle door where they expected Tee Grizzley to be sitting and opened fire with devastating effectiveness. But in a cruel twist of fate, it was J.B. Brown who caught the bullets meant for him, paying the ultimate price for being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
They hit her 8 times though.
The immediate aftermath was characterized by chaos, confusion, and the desperate scramble to understand what had just occurred. Tee Grizzley's cousin came out the house strapped, and they searched the area, initially not understanding the full scope of what had just went down. The driver had bounced immediately after the shooting, leaving Tee Grizzley and his cousin to piece together the horrific puzzle of what had just happened in their hood. When the full horror of the situation became clear, the human cost was devastating beyond measure. J.B. Brown was rushed to a local hospital but died from her wounds. She was 41 years old, a mother, a manager, and the woman who had believed in Tee Grizzley when nobody else would.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for shorty, but I ain't even gonna fake it to you. And she got kids and shit, but I feel bad for her, bro. But you gotta think, like, you making money off this nigga too. You think he wouldn't have helped you? Like, You ain't had to keep this nigga money and stuff, but you ain't had to keep all everything. But he wasn't trying to sign them papers, bro. Cause 9 times out of 10, a lot of niggas would have did that type of thing, bro. A lot of niggas would have killed you for something like that. Cause that is crazy, man. Like, comment, subscribe, shorty. We up out this, John.